Hello and welcome,
Hi.
everybody. Welcome, Sarah Fields. We did Institute for Coaching Mastery together, and she is here with us today.
Yep.
So, Sarah, I will let you introduce yourself and just kind of tell us what you do.
Okay. Hi. I'm Sarah Fields, and yes, Nikki and I went to Institute of Coaching Mastery together, became coaches, and that's been a beautiful thing. So it's been a couple of years since we did that. I am a career coach, and I'm helping women like who are so like burnt out in their career. They know they want to do something different. They're just kind of unsure, like, what does that next step look like? Um, I just help them get the clarity over that. And then I also help them like write their career story. I help them with their resume, like all the things so that they can figure out what they really want to do and then go after it. And they'll have the like tangible steps to go do it. So yeah, that's what I do.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Thank
So, what
you.
got you started doing, like, what got you started in career coaching?
Um, I had to really narrow it down to like who I really wanted to like serve and
Mm,
like who I really wanted to help. And when you're a coach, like there's all kinds of things you can do. It all, you can help with lots of different things. But I really needed to niche in and figure out like who is my person, who is out there that like I really want to help. And it's kind of like I went through the same thing of like having a job that I hated and I had
mm,
stayed in it for years and I was burnt out and I just couldn't get out of that like that stagnant place of I hate this job. I don't know what I should do. I don't really know what I'm good at. So I just stayed in it for years, right? And that really sucks. And like when you hate your job, it affects, your life because you're at work so much that having a job that you just really despise it's not good for your mental health. So,
yeah.
and I was like, I can definitely help women with that because I know what it's like, and I don't want to see them have to stay years in something that's just, sucky, for lack of a better word.
I so appreciate that. I've been in a job like that as well, so I totally
Yes.
understand.
Yeah.
So for someone that doesn't know what that they're in burnout, what would be the first like sign or symptom of being in burnout?
Well, when I say burnout, I don't mean like the medical diagnosis of like, oh, you're burnt out and like, here's, I think sometimes I equate it to like severe boredom and just where you dread getting up in the morning because you
Mm,
just dread going to work. You dread walking through the door. Like none of the work is inspiring to you. You're not motivated. Like you're really there kind of like for the check, right? Because you need the
mm,
money to survive. Um, but like none of it's really fulfilling you. And you're not really one of the biggest things that I felt when I was in that position was I was like, I could do so much more, but the
mm.
opportunity is not really there for me in this position. And I feel like my growth is stagnant. Like I really value growth. I value personal development, like, you know, increasing my skills. And I just couldn't do that. And so I think that's a good indicator, it's time to try something else, do something different.
That's
So
brilliant. That's
thanks.
that's brilliant. So how do you work with people? Like what kind of containers, what do your containers look like? Like do you work with people in group settings?
It's 1-to-one right now. I am thinking about doing a group program. I'm launching here in like by April, it's like you were talking about too. My online group program called Career Change Blueprint, where we like walk through these steps together. And right now it's 1-to-one, but I would love to have a group just because I value community so much and like having the community experience and everyone showing up and being in there and just kind of like, you know, getting like you feed off other people's energy and it's just really helpful to have that community of women who are going through the same thing, but you know that they're like working on, you know, up leveling.
And kind of like empowering each other too, right? At the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That
It
sounds
can be
so cool.
contagious. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. That's so cool. So don't necessarily want you to say do whatever you will with this question.
Yeah.
So when you were in that and you felt the boredom, at what point were you like finally with the stagnant? Like how long did you were you in that before you decided to make a change?
Long ass time.
Yeah.
um, I think I think even when I first took the job, I knew it really wasn't for me, but it paid really well. It paid really well, and I didn't know what else I could do because I wasn't even aware of like my skills. And back at that time, like that was back in the early 2000s. I didn't have any of the awareness that I have now. And social media is not what it was. So I really didn't know. I didn't see anybody else like really doing anything that I really wanted to do. I didn't know what the opportunities were. And I definitely didn't have someone modeling it for me at that time of like, okay, here's what I'm doing. And I thought, oh, I would love to do that too. Maybe I can. So um I stayed in it for a really long time. And a lot of it was due to money too, just because I had kids.
Mm,
And I think that's a lot of why women stay is, in their jobs and you have to survive, right? You have to survive. And after you've been working for so long and you're making like decent money, it's scary to start something new and think like, ooh, am I gonna have to take a pay cut? Or am I gonna have to like,
mm.
I might be a manager or something now. Am I gonna have to go down? Like, you know, you don't want to like go down the ladder, right? So I think that's what's scary is that change right there. So
It's very true. And you're speaking to kind of like my soul right now. Um, this is a little bit off topic, but my company actually, as of midnight tonight, has changed ownership.
oh,
So there's been like a whole bunch of stress with um so my staff reunion, we are non-union, like the supervisors are non-union, but there's been so much stress with all of it. So even like the whole debate of like staying on has been
really?
so overwhelming. I decided to stay on, but part of it is that is similar. Like I don't want to be starting all over again.
Yeah. So are you going to be changing is your job going to be changing or is it just the company changing and you'll still be doing the same?
So right now it's just the company's changing.
Okay.
Yeah. So my job is remaining the same at the moment. My shift will hopefully be changing in the summer, which means I actually might see daylight versus
Ooh.
nighttime all the time.
Yeah, that would be great.
But this conversation is just such good timing because, like I said, it's as of midnight tonight. Um, so it's an hour and a half into my shift that our company changes, which
Wow.
feels so weird.
Yes. Well, good luck when you go in. That'll be
Oh,
interesting to see how it plays out.
right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So, speaking to the like overwhelmed, so I have a little bit of the opposite. I don't want to say that I'm stagnant because I have grown within this company into a supervisor position. But if somebody's going through overwhelm and their brain is like nonstop and there's a lot of negative self-talk coming up, which could be the same in a boredom position or a stagnant position as well.
Yeah.
How would you help them with that?
If they were overwhelmed in their current position.
Either overwhelmed or even like a lot of negative self-talk.
Hmm. I think you'd have to really do a lot of work around around the talk of like why you're even saying those things, right? And it could
Mm,
very well just be something that you're so used to doing, you don't even know, you're not even aware of like how negative the self-talk is, right?
true.
Um, and that's the beautiful thing about coaching too, is it'll help you become aware of, oh, like I really am talking shit to myself all the time, or like I have these automatic negative thoughts that just pop up. And you have to be really conscious and aware of them and work, and it takes time, especially if you've been doing it all your life, right? So, I mean, you could reframe thoughts, you could, there's the thing of like asking yourself if those thoughts are true. There's lots of ways you could work on it, but I think it's kind of different for everybody in a way,
Mm,
you know, because depending on what you're dealing with and what your go-to pattern is of negativity.
Fair.
But ideally it's like, work on the mindset of how you're speaking to yourself. And if you really hate your job, like take the steps to try to change it to get into something new, right?
True. So you were saying that you do one-to-one coaching, but you also mentioned at the beginning about resume writing.
Yeah.
So what do your containers look like with one-to-one coaching?
Well, for the career that, I don't know if I mentioned the name, but like for my career change blueprint, which is like my program, that's one-to-one coaching, but we would, work together, and meet like every other week, and you would have like some tasks to do, some action steps, all the things. But the like career story and helping with like the resume, I am going to offer just one-offs, because
Oh,
sometimes I
okay.
don't think everybody needs like, they don't need 6 sessions. Not everyone needs that. Some people know what they want to do. They just need help with, help me write my career story, help me market myself. And that's one thing that I think I know I'm really good at, because I have a background as like a marketer. I've done all this like online business marketing for other coaches. And so I'm just translating that into, I'm going to help you market yourself so you can get yourself a new job, go into a new career, right? Like we're going to take those principles and we're going to move it into um, your career and marketing yourself and networking, all the things. And so I will be offering like one-off like coaching sessions.
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
That's
thanks.
so cool. Um, so do you do, and I'm asking this because I absolutely hate doing it, but it's cover letters.
Cover letters. I haven't even thought about a cover letter just yet. I was like, I think resume is where I'm going to start. Um, but honestly, I'm going to help the person with whatever they need. If they need a cover letter and a resume, I'm going to help them write that. So, yeah.
That's so cool. That's so brilliant. Like what you're doing is just so cool and so brilliant because I always end up like going to Google and then I get so frustrated when I have to like try and type everything myself. And I know a lot of people are going to like chat GPT for resume
Hmm.
help or for cover letter help, but it's not the same as having a personal touch.
Right. Absolutely.
So what
And
you're
sometimes your results from ChatGPT, like, don't get me wrong, I love ChatGPT, love it. But sometimes the things you'll get back are just a little weird and you still have to rework it, right? It's not like you can just take exactly what it says and, like, oh, copy it right onto my paper and send it off. You have to
exactly
rework it a little bit. So, yeah.
exactly some employers are able to tell. They're able to tell if it came from
Yes.
like an AI.
Yeah, I just saw something the other day. There was a school counselor and she was mentioning um something, how they can tell if you've plagiarized something.
Mm,
Apparently there's something now, like some kind of software where you can use like, oh, what's the probability that they were using AI to generate this like report or document? And so there's stuff out there that does that too. So mhm.
I mean that's cool because yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I might have done it too when I was in high school.
Oh, I for sure would have used. I'm not saying I would have like just copy and pasted, but anything I feel like that's going to help you brainstorm or help you, like, 'cause you know how you get writer's block.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was in college, this was before like Chat GPT. I could remember just bringing up like a document because I had like a big assignment due, and I remember one time I wrote introduction, and my cursor just sat there blinking for like, I couldn't think. I was like, what am I going to put on this paper? Like I just had
Yeah.
such writer's block. So yeah, Chat GPT to the rescue.
Right.
Yes.
So for anybody that maybe is starting out in a career and or wanting to change not just jobs but like career path,
Hmm.
what advice would you give them?
To get really clear on like what their values are, like if they have no idea like what they really want to do, they just know that I definitely don't want to be a nurse, or I definitely don't want to be in technology. Like I think it's really important to get clear on your values, like what you really value, because that can act as a guide, like as you're making decisions moving forward. So knowing those values, and I don't know if people talk about that enough. can just help you make decisions. Like, if freedom is one of your like top five values, you probably don't want to pick something that you're going to be at work like all the time, or it's kind of like having a business. There's always like homework due.
Mm,
So you may not want to choose something in that area, or you'll just have to know ahead of time that you're going to have to make certain sacrifices while it's getting going, right? So I feel like knowing your core values and yeah, knowing what your strengths are, and really playing to those and figuring like out those transferable skills for where you want to go. It's like if you're a nurse or a teacher, like you have valuable skills that you could parlay into something else.
mm,
So,
fair and true. And I think the transferable skills are sometimes so underrated, so underestimated
mhm.
because we don't think about it until something comes up and you're like, oh yeah, actually learned that from this. Like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
even
that's
my
and that's like having that awareness of how it could transfer.
yeah, exactly.
What were you gonna say?
Even in my own job. So I've been a supervisor before and then I'm a supervisor now, but and there were two completely different fields. So you
Hmm.
think, oh, because you've been a supervisor, but that's not completely true. One was home care and one is a factory. Like they're completely different. But there
Yes.
are some of those transferable skills,
Yeah.
and then coaching certification has helped on top of that. Like
100%.
I don't necessarily coach my staff, but I need to know how to talk to them,
Hmm.
right?
And how to lead. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So the transferable skills are so important, but they're so, I think we often forget about them because we're so
Hmm.
in it,
Hmm.
or we don't realize we don't realize we have them.
Yeah. One thing that I find, and this was true for me as well, it was really hard for me to think about my own strengths. People say, well, what are your strengths? What are you good at? And if you haven't done a lot of thought or like, some work around that, it can sometimes it's really hard for people like, what are my strengths? Because it's natural to you. You just do it.
Yeah.
So sometimes it can be really hard to pick those things out. And then on top of that, you have to go market yourself and, share with people what you can do. It's the whole thing.
It's the one you're saying strengths and it makes me think of weaknesses. I feel like I'm easily able to pick out what my weaknesses are versus what my strengths are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. It's just part of like that, like negative, even like those automatic negative thoughts. Like you can easily tell, like, I can tell you what I'm not good at for sure. Or,
Yeah.
if you ask someone, like, what do you like? And they'll be like, I don't know. Well, what do you not like? And they can definitely tell you what they don't like. So that's always a good starting point too. It's like, I don't know what I like, but I can tell you what I don't like. And that's being around people or something like that. Right. So yeah.
So who do you mostly work with? And I know just like what is your I cannot speak today. Oh my God, I apologize. Be like a blooper reel for the podcast and the YouTube channel.
It'll be fine.
Who do
Everybody's got them.
right, right. So who
Yes.
do you normally work with? Like, is it women that you've generally worked with before? And I understand that we don't always want to be like, oh, I only work with women, but who have you generally worked with so far?
It's been generally women over 35.
That's
And
so
I feel like the women, I mean, I would, if a 25-year-old came up to me, I wouldn't be like, oh, no, I don't work with you because you're not, I mean, that's not how it would work. But I do focus on those that are 35 and older because they've probably been in their career for a really long time and
mm,
they can tell, like, I'm pretty much over this. Like they've been in it and they're most likely the ones I'm ready to do something else. Like this is not where it's at.
yeah,
So
yeah. And are they women generally in like leadership positions or like an entry level position?
it varies. It really does.
That's awesome. I really like what you do. I feel like I said to
Thanks.
you earlier, it's so needed. It's so needed. And to have that like personal touch added to it. So you have the one-offs and you have a one-to-one container. How long are your one-to-one containers?
That's going to be 12 weeks and we'll meet like every other week. So yeah. And I'll
That's
be
really
launching that in April, at the beginning of April.
yay. That's
I know.
so
I'm
cool.
so excited.
If you could recommend a book or a podcast to somebody that's maybe not quite yet ready for coaching, but that wants to change, what is something that you could recommend to them?
That just wants to change, like in general, like wants to get more into personal development and up level.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
loaded question, I
I
know.
know. I have so many books that I love. So I love the book Wild by Cheryl Strayed. Her book Wild, it's not like a personal development book, but it generally was the first book that I read. Her writing's so beautiful that um it felt like she was just giving you permission to be a fucking badass. Like whatever you wanted to do, you can go do it, right?
Mm.
And you don't have to get other people's permission. You just give yourself permission, and that's the way to live, right? And it just really resonated with me. So I really love, and she hiked the Pacific Crest Trail. I would not. That ain't my bag, but I was very impressed by it, right? So I love the book Wild. I love Get Rich Lucky Bitch by Denise Duffield Thomas because the money is such a huge emotional thing, especially for women. And I think
Mm.
a lot of us don't even realize our money blocks. Like we don't even know the stories that we tell ourselves about it or the things that we think are possible. So I think that's like a really great book as far as like diving into your money. And she's just really great. I listen to it on Audible because I love her accent. I just love hearing her talk. She's like, it sounds like a friend. She's just, talking to you like a really good friend. So Get Rich Lucky Bitch, Wild. And I really love the book Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, just about being creative. And I thought it was really well written. There's so many books I could mention. Never Split the Difference. That was really good. I mean, they're just yeah. Uh, so yeah.
Do you have any like career books that you've read and could recommend?
I did read Life by Design. That was pretty interesting, talking about like, noticing the work that you're doing, like are you in flow? Like noticing like the work that you do like, and when you're in flow, feeling like, oh, I could just work on this for hours and not get tired, or the work that you just know that you hate and you dread doing. It has some really good exercises in it. It's been a while since I've read that one though. Um, I don't have as many career focused books, I guess. Um,
That's
I've
okay though,
just read
because
a
it's like I said, it's more of a personal touch, being able to come to you.
absolutely like you have support and accountability.
Yeah,
And sometimes when you're like looking for a job, you need those things. So,
for sure. For sure.
yes.
So if you're working with somebody, and this just came to me. So if you're working with somebody and they get a new job in the middle of the container, does that change what your container looks like?
That's up to, I mean, yes and no. It's like, because when you're working with someone and you're helping them with a certain issue, right? It's like, even if they go out and get a new job, they may still really love the support and accountability. There may be other
Mhm.
things that they like kind of want to work on. And I've also found that like they might get a new job, but then there's some anxiety sometimes when you're starting a new job, right? It's like, oh, I feel like I'm not good enough. There's imposter syndrome. And sometimes you just need support around that.
Yeah.
Um, so I've had, specifically this one client I can think of, she got this new job and she was so suited for it. She could take care of anything they wanted her to, but she just felt like, I don't know if I can do this job. I don't even know,
Mm.
because she still had to learn some new things, even though she had all the skills that she needed, she still had to like learn new aspects of the job that she was taking, and definitely capable, but it really caused her a lot of stress starting out.
Oh,
So yeah.
that's good. That's good. Yeah, I can see how your support and the and safety within your container could be very much appreciated, especially in a new job.
Yeah, new jobs can be anxiety provoking.
For sure.
Even when you love it, even when you know, like, man, this is the job I was supposed to have, like, there's still some feelings of uncertainty, like when you're walking in and you're starting something new and you're trying to get a feel for the people you're working with. So it's always good to have someone like there on your side.
That is so cool. So, do you have any advice or parting advice that you want to give to anybody? Um, Whatever may come up for you.
I think my best parting advice is, if you really know deep down inside that it's time for a change, um, then just, take the risk. Like, take the risk, because you'll be okay. You'll be able to. Most people have like the skills. They'll be okay to um, catch themselves if something were to go
Mm.
wrong. But like, there's a book called and I haven't read this book. I just love the title so much. I resonate with it. It's like, you either win or you learn, right? So
Mm.
no matter what, you're not going to fail, but you will learn something. You'll either win or you'll learn. And then you can use that information and get back up and try again. So,
That is so like
yeah.
profound and so true. It's so true. We learn and we
Yeah, I don't
grow.
even believe it. Yes, it's like, I don't believe in failure really. It's just something that you tried and maybe it didn't work out, but like, that's not a failure. I guarantee you learn something from any time something didn't go your way, or you got to know, it's just an opportunity to learn from it and, you know, change what you're doing a little bit and keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So where can people find you?
I'm at Sarah L. Fields on Instagram. And don't go to my website yet. I'm at my website, sarahlfields.com, but I'm changing that all around. So it's not really prepared, but I'm on Instagram a lot. I really like Instagram. So at Sarah L. Fields.
Awesome. I'm going to put that in the show notes
Thank you.
with some of your book recommendations as well.
Oh, awesome. I would love that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time, Sarah, to come on today. I'm sure if I get any questions about your career related coaching, I'm going to have you back on to ask you more questions.
I love
Uh,
that. Yes.
and I might have some people to send your way. So
Send them over. I'd be
awesome.
glad.
Thank you so much for today. And I appreciate you and I appreciate what you are doing in this world and everything you are doing to help better people.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for asking me to come on. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks.